All right, this video that I'm doing today is going to be about how to get a house in Canada, what you need to do beforehand, and where you should actually buy a house and how you can actually get ahead. I think this is another place where you decide, okay, I want to buy a house, and unless you know exactly what's required to get a mortgage or what the long-term effects of your decisions are, it seems a little intimidating. So I'm going to help hopefully clarify some of the things you need to do before you get a house and also how you decide whether or not you should even buy a house. All right, so the first thing that we need to look at is, should you even buy a house where you're living right now, or where should you buy a house? I did this spreadsheet up, base it off of a couple each making about 50 grand. Taxes on that per year is 14,962. That gives you $7,086 left to survive per month. These are the average prices in South Okanagan, Calgary, Winnipeg, and Saskatoon. And what I'm illustrating here is the down payment that you need to save before you could even buy the house. It's 5%. If you're buying a home in Canada with less than 20% down, there's something called a CMHC fee. That essentially is insurance for the bank who's lending you the money. The insurance comes from the taxpayer. That if you default, they get their money back. So this 4%, so you put 5% down right off the top, you pay a 4% insurance amount. So essentially your down payment is like $9,000 on a house. This is why if you bought a house today and the market dropped 10%, you'd be sitting there underwater on your mortgage, which isn't a good place to be. But anyways, so we'll just work through this. So a single family home in South Okanagan is $772,000. Down payment's $38,000. You got to figure out how to save that. Your mortgage will be $763,000. 5-year mortgage is 5.24%. That means you're going to be paying $4,456 a month. I'm assuming living costs are $2,500 for a couple with a child. This leaves you with $130 per month in savings. If you saved $130 a month for the next 25 years, you'd have a grand total of $123,282 in your savings account. It's not very much money. The home, this is the thing that's always contentious, is, people say the South Okanagan is the best place to have a house because of the appreciation of home values, which is true. We have no idea where house values are going to go from here. I've bought property in the South Okanagan and immediately lost, 30% back in 2008. And there's been other times when I've made money. So it's not as easy as just buying a piece of property and always making money. Like I showed in my previous video, if interest rates are rising, then there's a big case for housing values to be lower. So who knows where we're going to be in a year from now. But what I just did is I said, okay, well, let's say that home values go up by 4%. So over 25 years, this home for 760 or 772 would be $2 million, right? So this isn't bad. So in 25 years, you're worth $2,182,000. You have all your money tied up in your home. You have no money for fun, really, ever. Then you have to make a decision. Do you sell your home to survive? Do you downsize? Who knows, right? Took the same number from Calgary. So this is the average single family home in Calgary is $582,000. Down payment would be $29,000. That means your mortgage with CMHC would be $575,000. At mortgage rates right now, you're at $3,423. So already a drastic difference in terms of the mortgage cost. Living costs about the same. I don't know. Like, these numbers are not exact, but it's just an example. That means you'd have about $1,100 a month in savings. If you put that away for the next 25 years, you have $1.1 million in savings. Your home obviously wouldn't be worth as much because you're starting from a lower point, but it'd still be worth about $1.5 million in 25 years. So you're at $2.6 million as your net worth. Winnipeg, I don't know about Winnipeg. I've never lived there. But I just, I'm going province by province in terms of the big city centers where you can buy a home. So Winnipeg, a single family home is $440,000, down payment's $22,000. Mortgage would be $434,000, meaning your payment is $2,588 per month. Your living costs, let's say the $2,500, same amount. Now you got $2,000 a month for savings. 25 years, you'd have $1.9 million Your home would be worth 1.1. So you're sitting on a $3 million net worth. The big thing here that stands out to me is, I would rather have over $1 million in the bank for doing the things that I love to do, like traveling or, um, having adventures or, getting a boat. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do. This amount of money um, can be eaten up by having to get a new car or having to be off work for a certain amount of time because you have an injury. This is not a lot of money over 25 years, right? And then Saskatoon, so single family home, 392, cheapest of the bunch. Down payment's 19, mortgage is 387. Your monthly payment on the mortgage is $2,300. You have more money for living than your mortgage even costs, and your savings are at $2,200 a month. So 25 years, you'd have $2.1 million if you put that savings away. Your home wouldn't be worth as much, but I mean, you have a home, and you could be spending 6 months of the year in Mexico. You could be going on 3 trips, you could cruises, whatever. $2 million would generate like $130,000 a year for the rest of your life. So you think a couple making 100 grand, I mean, in 25 years, you go, okay, well, we'll be retired. So if you're 25 now, you'd be 50, right? 50, sitting on $2 million, doing whatever you want, not having to stress out about money, but you have to live in Saskatoon. The other thing is you could be here when you retire and then come back and decide, well, maybe I will have a condo in the Okanagan, depending on where prices are at, right? This is all pretty basic. It's not, there's going to be different variables within each one because obviously the type of living is different, but you really have to look at the situation and say, how, either you're going to have to make a significantly larger amount of money just to survive and get by in the Okanagan. You're going to have to significantly sacrifice your retirement in the future. So you better get a job where you have some sort of pension. And it's going to be more stressful, right? There's not a lot of room here for unexpected situations that won't throw you completely off. So the first thing before you even start deciding whether you're going to buy a home is having a realistic conversation or thought process in terms of where you want to start building your net worth, because it has significant differences. You still get to be in Canada, right? You still are a Canadian, but maybe it makes sense to start building your net worth in Winnipeg and moving back versus the struggle of trying to survive here. So you've decided where you're going to buy a house. The next thing to do is make sure that you have your finances in order before you even start doing this. Buying a house is not the same as renting because there's constantly going to be things going wrong. You need to make sure that you have a buffer in terms of the money that you get. This program is called Mint. What Mint does is it links into your credit cards, your investment accounts, your bank accounts, all of those things, and puts the data together so that you can see your net worth and your budget all in one spot. So I'll sign into my thing here. You guys can see how my situation is, but what it's doing right now behind the scenes is it's refreshing all the information from all the different places that I have set up. So you come in and you log in like with your online banking information for CIBC, links it into this program. Some of them are a little finicky where they don't work every time, but you can see here like this Home Trust one. Some days it just doesn't update, but overall, like it does usually refresh pretty quick. So what we're looking at here is not so much these numbers. I mean, everyone's going to be different. You have the ability to put in your own things as well. But what we want to look at is budgets. So when you spend money, it's going to pull that information into your transaction list where you can classify what it is. It's pretty smart. So here it says, Landmark Cinema, we went to the movie. It knows it's with movies and DVDs. Supplement King, it knows it's health and fitness. It categorizes things quite well. When we go to this one, trends, you can go, okay, spending by category for this month. Now, what we're looking for, obviously, our spending is very different. Like we booked some travel, so I mean that's a higher cost than usual, but it adds up, right? If we go to home, we have the mortgage payment that's biweekly, so that's going to add another one on Friday here. Travel, this is we have to go to the island for a wedding. This Turo thing is renting a car in Hawaii. And then this Air Canada stuff is air travel is just getting super expensive. But the whole idea behind this program is that you can go through and see, well, where are some things that I'm spending money where I don't necessarily have to. So we can look at this, right? Fees and charges. Well, we are getting the backyard. We're getting a yard built. It's ridiculously expensive, but I had to put that on the line of credit. This shows me, okay, well, that's what my line of credit fee was, right? If I had more, like if you have more finance charges and such, you'll see everything all in one place. Other things are like, okay, entertainment. So basically I golf and we go to the movies, right? We don't have to. I mean, if we were saving for a house or we were, trying to find room in our budget to put towards things like investments or savings, this is where you could go, okay, well, I don't need to have all this. I can cut this out, right? The main thing is to load all your stuff in to this. Oh, see, it just updated my other mortgage payment has come in there. The main thing is that if you have this front and center, I look at this almost every day so I can see, okay, well, what's going through our bank accounts, right? This is one that's really good for having a conversation with your spouse. So you can go through and say, hey, like, Tim Hortons, 1, 2, 3, 4, it all adds up, right? Groceries, yeah, that's fine, but you don't need to have a lot of the things that show up in these budgets. And because it pulls in information from everywhere, it gives you a much better view of where you sit. So again, I know we're in a very, we're very blessed in terms of our situation, but we do have 3 kids and we do have 2 dogs. And we do have a lot of expenses that I need to keep track of as well, because just because you're making a good amount of money doesn't mean you all of a sudden stop paying attention to where it's all going. So this is really important to keep an eye on. So it's called mint.com. Sign up for it. This is run by Intuit, which do QuickBooks. They've been around forever and ever and ever. I've been using this for, I think it's like 12 years now. Never had a problem. So the first thing before you do anything is go through this system, see if there's places where you can start reducing your spending to increase. Like, we want to get a buffer where basically you have 2 months of wages available in an account in case something goes wrong, like the furnace blows up, or there's tons of stuff that can go wrong with the house, right? The next thing that you need to do after you figure out how much money you can save and how much you can put aside is you need to know whether you actually even qualify to get a house, get a mortgage. So your credit score is going to be what defines whether you can get financing. You need to have a score of at least 650. This one is Credit Karma. There's an app for it as well, where it just tracks your this is your TransUnion credit score. There's 2 places in Canada where you get your credit. So this is mine, Excellent Credit. You'll come in, like, you can see that mine has changed, right? You can go through and it shows you all your different things that you owe on and your payment schedule. So before you even go to the bank, before you even try and get financing, know what your score is. Because if your score is 600, nobody's going to lend you any money, right? What's interesting though is this is my TransUnion score. The other place is called in Canada is called Equifax, and if you, depending on the institution you go to, they'll use either the TransUnion score or the Equifax score. Well, if you go to borrowwell.com, they do your Equifax score, and I don't know what's going on here. My Equifax score is not that great. So you can see you need to check both, because if one's got something strange on the credit report and that's going to show up in your application, you need to get that straightened out before you even start the application, right? My Borrowwell one is weird. I don't know why. I did have a credit issue like 10 years ago. And for some reason, Equifax, who they go through, hasn't forgiven me for that, whereas TransUnion has. So very important to do that before you get too far into the process. So log out of that. All right, and then the last thing here that you need to do before you even attempt to get a home and waste a bunch of time is you want to do a mortgage affordability calculation. So this one's through CIBC, who obviously is the best place ever to do anything. I highly recommend, based on my other video where you can make some savings on points and such. I work for CIBC Wood Gundy, so it's kind of like they're my partner. I don't work with the bank, but they do definitely put the client first in a lot of ways, and they give more perks than other places I've worked before. Full disclosure, I've worked for HSBC, TD, CIBC, and National Bank. So I've been around the block when I was starting my career in terms of trying to find where I fit in. But mainly, this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my career for sure, I think, hopefully. So CIBC, if you just search in CIBC Mortgage Affordability Calculator, it'll come up on Google, gets you to this calculation. And so if we go with total annual household income, what you save for a down payment or what you think you can save, which province you're going to be in, loans and other debts per month, so what you pay per month and how much you owe on credit cards, it'll give you a quick calculation where it says, well, guess what? This is what you can buy for a home. So right away, if we're living in BC, that's not enough money. $330,000 just isn't going to cut it to buy you a home. So right away, you have to go back to having a really realistic conversation saying, am I going to stick it out in this area that I live in, hoping that I make more money, or, playing that whole rat race game where I constantly have to be chasing the almighty dollar, or do we go somewhere where we can afford a home now? The other thing to think about is the years lost of building your net worth while you strive to hit this ridiculous down payment, or getting this ridiculously priced house that leaves you with no savings. Every year that goes by where you're renting and you're not saving money is another year that's being added to, being removed from your retirement, right? If I hadn't been so lucky to kind of fall into my career 16 years ago and build up this business where I can support my family here, I wouldn't live here. It just doesn't, for a young person trying to make it in life, it makes zero sense where you could be, yes, you're not living in this beautiful place, but you own a home, which means every month you're giving yourself money because part of your mortgage payment is principal. You're building an asset. The younger you start, the sooner you can retire. So this is a big thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are very frugal and they save money, and you're going, okay, I'm saving money for a house. This is going to be great. And then you come and do this and go, well, I saved $35,000. That took me a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. even if we take out the credit cards, let's say, like we'll go, let's just make this like someone who's done everything, cleaned up their finances, everything's good to go. This is it, right? So if you get to this point where um, you've done everything right and you've saved your money and you've um, you're not going to the bar every weekend and you're still only here, um, it's going to be tough, right? Like maybe you can get a 2-bedroom condo. That'd be a good place to start. But I'm basing this all off, if you actually want to have a house, right? You can't even get a townhouse around here for 432,000, whereas in Alberta, you're buying like uh, either a little bit older home or a brand new townhouse, and um, you're still you're getting a lot further ahead. So this is the final step. You can see, you can mess around with these numbers and see what works, but you really got to have a solid understanding of what it's going to take to ever actually buy a house. Hopefully that gives people some tools to start the process of buying a home. um, I will do some more videos. So this assumes that you've already gotten to the point where your credit's good, you have your debts figured out. To be honest, there's not a lot of people that are in that position. So if people want it, well, I think I'm already going to do them. I'll do a video in regards to how to rebuild your credit, or um, how that all works, right? So there comes a point where if you have a certain amount of debt, you need to have a good, look at it and say, is this debt something I can actually um, pay off at some point, or am I just going to be stuck in this situation forever where it might make more sense to do a consumer proposal or go bankrupt, which sounds really scary, but you really have to look at these things from a mathematical point of view without any emotion. So I'll do a video on that to just kind of help you get to this point. The main thing with this video is I want people to see, the difference in terms of where you decide to buy a home, um, how you have to get your act together before you even start the process. Um, Other than that, yeah, leave a comment if it's helpful, or like, or whatever. Um, I do think I have like ideas for 3 or 4 more videos. So if you want to subscribe, you'll get those. And then I'll also leave, in every video I say, I'll leave a link to the Planswell program, because what I'd like to do is eventually, um, as I get more people giving me that information, I'll do videos where I take, um, it will be confidential, but I'll take the situation and give those people my thoughts in terms of how they can get into the better position, or maybe some of the bigger questions they have to ask themselves if they're going to get to the point they want to be in life. I mean, I say this a lot of time. Like if I meet someone young enough, I can easily make them a millionaire, but um, they have to do what it takes to get to that point. And it's not as easy as buying some crypto at the right time and having your uh, go from being having $1,000 to $1 million. It really means that sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and you have to be uh, have a good control over where your money's going and why it's going there, and also um, be on the same page with your partner in terms of what you're trying to achieve long term by not doing some things now. So hopefully this video is helpful. And yeah, if you have any questions about any of the things I did, just leave a comment and I can explain them in more detail, because this was a pretty quick video, honestly, for a very large topic. I'll also do a video in terms of I don't know how I'm going to do it, but in terms of what you need to qualify. So how that even looks to the mortgage company when you send that application in. So hopefully that helps. Have a great day.